Greetings, Retro Zoltan here. Before I begin, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my good friends at the YouTube channel Biking for Breakfast in New England. These guys take their bikes out and, well, go have breakfast. They go to a variety of places, and to be honest, I wish I was going with them. So if you're looking for genuine reviews of food on the breakfast nature, please give them a go. I'll provide a link in the description below. Do you have a Miyoo Mini? Did you miss the rush and now are wishing you had one? If you don't have one, please hang in there. It's a great system, and honestly, I think everyone should get one. But there are alternatives. Why don't I show you something else that's kind of close, that's also well-loved and arguably a bit more well-built? Seriously, it's okay. Take a look. I present to you the Anbernic RG280V. Now, I admit, I haven't looked too much at Anbernic devices in the past. I tend to get more curious about systems that have a bad reputation. And honestly, I can't help myself. So here it is, and in its own right, it looks pretty impressive, right? It's, well, square. I looked at it for a while, and it reminded me of something. And then I saw it. Yep, that's right. The form factor of the Anbernic RG280V is chunky. It's got a good weight to it, and it feels like the quality plastic and metal you're hoping for. Now, these have been out for a while now, since 2020, but you can still buy them easily all day long for an average of $60. The same price now as the Miyoo Mini, actually. There are two colors available for the RG280V, a silver and a black one that I'm enjoying myself, and a red and gold one for those that like the Famicom controller look. I wish Anbernic milked this a little further with a few more colors, but they're probably over this by now and just getting rid of inventory. I bought mine used, as I sometimes do, and the top of the box looks like it went through something I can't explain, so I'll just let it be and hope the person who sold it to me is okay and well. The packaging, as well as mine, normally comes with a charging cable and some sort of instructions. The RGB280V is not truly square, but it's close. If you put it next to an LDK landscape, you can see it's pretty much the same size. The screen is a beautiful 2.8 inches with a glass screen that gives the illusion that the screen is even bigger, which it's taking up more than half of the real estate on the front. Also on the front is a D-pad, to which, in my opinion, feels amazing. It has the perfect amount of play and angles as well. ABXY buttons are very tactile and springy. They just feel like they're not going to let you down. Even the start and select buttons feel good, and the placement is in the preferred spot, so no complaints here. The sides sport an on-off button, a reset button, as well as volume buttons. I found these to work okay, but obviously would have preferred a dial for the volume. I think this is an Anbernic thing, but jury's still out as I continue to collect more of these things. The way the rocker volume style works is not the end of the world, and works decent enough for most of the emulators. An interesting addition to the RG280V is the use of two SD cards, one for firmware and one to store the games if that's to your liking. This makes it easy to add and remove games without interrupting the system at all. I would recommend using a 16 gig SD card for the internal and something larger for the external games. You can go all the way to 256 gig. I hate to see this happen, but this is another system that has a speaker in the back. It works, it's fine, but all your sound is behind you and not directed at you. The headphone jack on the top can solve that, of course. Also on the top is the USB-C charging port and a unique attempt at shoulder and trigger buttons. As you can see, the L1 and R1 buttons are sort of a bit longer, while the L2 and R2 stick out more. Despite this unique design, they're difficult to reach and not very comfortable, especially for my hands. I think it's safe to say the larger your hands, the less likely you're going to like the top buttons, which makes PlayStation games and Game Boy Advance games less playable. Quick stats for the RG280V are the following. A dual-core 1 GHz JZ4770 CPU, which is the same chipset as the RG350, a 512 megabyte RAM, a crispy 2.8-inch IPS display that's 320 by 480 with a glass screen, and a whopping 2100 milliamp battery that works between 5 to 7 hours. The RG280V out of the box runs Open Dingus, that's ready to play multiple emulators right away, including Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, Sega Genesis, Sega Mega Drive, Wonder Swan Color, PS1, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, PC Engine, Neo Geo, Neo Geo Pocket, Final Burn Alpha, Game Gear. and you can manually add even more. You really don't need to upgrade the custom firmware on this. I think the stock firmware is solid enough in my opinion. Games work just fine without any intervention, even PlayStation. But if you want more or just something a little different, there's also the Atom OS firmware that also includes a more graphical interface and even cover art through the simple menu GUI. Honestly, it was a bit difficult at first to get used to this menu system, but when I was able to get to the game section, I was pleased that I found all the ROMs on the second SD card automatically. The games are presented better, and in addition, there are a huge number of pre-installed emulators not present on the stock firmware. Also, as a side note, installing the Atom OS was a bit stranger than the normal method for adding custom firmware, so it took a bit of patience. I'll provide links and complete information off the Retro Zoltan website. So in summary, the RG280V is solid, and it looks and feels like good quality. I think I'm going to enjoy reviewing more Anbernic products. And for real, I struggled to make this video because I couldn't stop playing games on this thing. The games just look great and play just like you expect them to. So what's not to like? Just keep in mind that the triggers are just uncomfortable. So if you're planning on going to town playing a lot of PlayStation 1 games, I suggest perhaps you'd want something else. And that's all I have to say about the Anbernic RG280V. If you like my stuff and haven't done already, please subscribe. It helps me so much. Thanks for watching, thanks for your support, and I'll see you next time. Bye.